Good evening, everyone. How are you? I hope you're all doing great and preparing well. So, we have to finish the questions that we have started for October 2020, the PYQs we are solving, and not only solving but analyzing the questions. And with one question, we are like clearing all the related points about the writer, theories, terms, linguistic terms, but whatever in the questions, everything is given. Okay. So I hope you all have watched the previous classes. Five classes we have done. We have solved more than 80 questions. So now let's move and see what are the next questions that we must know. At least we should aware about all the writers and that anti-repeat. Anti-repeat. Okay. So with that aim, I started this PYQ session. After this, we will go and solve the another year PYQs. Okay. So let's start. Thank you so much for joining. Do subscribe the channel and share. See the question number 85, everybody. And the question is saying, which one of the following statement is appropriately true of Harold Pinter's plays? So you must prepare all the works of Harold Pinter, specifically the birthday party, character, event, everything about this specific work you must know. Okay. Here are the options. Menace is in the air and it leads to bloody violence. Option 2, menace is in the air and it is realized through the female characters. Option 3, menace is in the air but it is not pinned down or explained. And option 4, menace is in the air and anarchy follows in a systematic manner. So you have to find out the correct answer. Which one of the following statement is appropriately true of Harold Pinter's plays? Whatever plays he has written, you have to find out. You have to find out that which one of them are correct. Okay. So correct answer is option 3. Menace is in the air, but it is not pinned down or explained. Okay. Harold Pinter's drama we all know majorly famous for unexplained tension, psychological threat, silence and pauses, and ambiguity. That's why here it is mentioned. And he has coined this menace drama, hidden power struggle. So these are the specific themes that you are going to find in Harold Pinter's plays specifically. You must remember. Also, this is also the question. That is why you can say he is known. Who is the writer who is known? So it is Harold Pinter, Comedy of Merits. Okay, the danger in Pinter's plays rarely explained clearly and it remains mysterious and undefined. That's why we called it as a comedy of menace. Remember, this term comedy of menace used by critic Irving Waddell 1958 to describe Pinter's early plays, and it means comedy of menace that ordinary domestic setting, strange intruders, underlying psychological threat, and there is no clear explanation of what the actually danger is. So you must get familiar. Major works by Harold Pinter you must know: Early Comedy of Menace phase, The Room 1957, The Birthday Party 1958, The Dumbwaiter 1957, The Caretaker 1960, Middle Phase Memory. Similarly, his work is also divided in the phases the way we know the plays of Shakespeare and W.B. Yeats. All these writers have their phases in life and their works is divided into all these categories. So middle phase, here he wrote memory plays, The Homecoming 1965, Old Times 1971, No Man's Land 1975, Betrayal 1978. Okay. Then political phase in his career, One for the Road 1984, Mountain Language 1988, and Ashes to Ashes 1996. Remember. Also, he has won the Nobel Prize in 2005, which is very important that we must remember for the exam perspective. And let's see what are the concept that is actually associated with Pinter, Harold Pinter. So it is Pinter pause, the concept and term. It means silence as dramatic device and meaning hidden in the pauses. These two specified by Pinter pause. Comedy of menace, here it is coined by Irving Waddell. Remember who has coined this term? So it is Irving Waddell. It means threat without explanation. There is no explanation of the danger in the work, the plays. Power politics in language, it and language used as weapon, ambiguity and absurdity, ambiguity and absurdity. Okay, so these are the important concepts and terms that you must remember about Harold Pinter and all the works also. Now, the another options, menace is in the air and leads to bloody violence. Here, the Harold Pinter has not talked about the specific line that it is given in the, but instead you can say Stanley is psychologically here destroyed, but no, you are not going to find any visible bloodshed that occurs in the play of his play, like the play he has written. Okay, so these are the explanations of all the concepts, all the options that is given here. Remember, next question we have, to which mythological character is Faustus compared in the prologue of Dr. Faustus? Mythological character is Faustus. Faustus is a very important play of Elizabethan age by Christopher Marlowe, you must remember. And what is the condition? So you have to find out mythological character is Faustus compared to. Faustus is a main character here who wishes to gain the universal knowledge, that he wants to gain the universal knowledge. Okay, in the prologue of Dr. Faustus you have to find out Perseus, Theseus, Icarus or Achilles. So correct answer is it's option 3. Option 3, that is Icarus. Okay, so you must know, you have studied about this play. In the prologue of Dr. Faustus, Christopher Marlowe compares Faustus to Icarus, the Greek mythological figure who flew too close to the sun with wax wings and fell into his death. Death, salvation, we know in this work we find. So you must remember. Here the prologue says, still swollen with, you can remember this line I have added here. His waxen wings did not mount above his. So waxen wings, if you find in the line, you can go to the Faustus and Icarus in Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow. Okay, so must remember this line. It means this is a direct reference to the myth of Icarus. That means here, for Faustus' ambition led him to the salvation, Icarus' flight. Overreaching pride, hubris, and fall, that is tragic destruction. And you can say in the Renaissance age, we have seen in the character of Hamlet also, and many other character we have seen in the Victorian age play, the Revenge Tragedy, the play that he has given us, Duchess of Malfi. So these type of revenge tragedy, all the drama we have seen somehow the downfall of all the characters. So must remember, Dr. Faustus is the very important play. It was published in 1604. Okay, here it is written in 1588. It falls in the tragic drama category and based on the German Faust legend. Christopher Marlowe, we all know that he was the contemporary of William Shakespeare, but he died in such a young age. Okay, he was the major figure in university wits and part of the Renaissance tragedy. He popularized blank verse, which is, we all know, later it is popularized by Milton and many other writers too. So he popularized blank verse in drama, developed the character overreacher tragic hero that we find in the work. Okay, so must remember he developed the overreacher tragic hero, the way we find in Faustus. Concept that is associated with Christopher Marlowe, you must remember blank verse, tragic hubris, overreacher hero, Renaissance humanism. These are the concept that is associated with him. And also conflict between medieval Christianity and Renaissance curiosity, damnation versus salvation. This thing you will find in the Faustus, and here Faustus is often called the Renaissance overreacher. Okay, must remember. Then another, let's see the major plays by Christopher Marlowe. Tamburlaine the Great, Part 1, 1587, Part 2, 1588. Must remember the genre of this work is tragedy. Here you will find the overreaching ambition, power, conquest, and you can remember it is the first major English play in blank verse. Hero as overreacher, Renaissance aspiration, and Tamburlaine is a shepherd who becomes a world conqueror. So similarly, in the play Dr. Faustus, we have seen how Dr. Faustus tries to gain the worldly or the universal knowledge, that he wants to become so powerful. The knowledge that he has gained, he was not happy. That's why there is a deal. So you, if you have studied the play, okay. Dr. Faustus, we know it is also tragic drama, and the concept that is associated with this work, Renaissance humanism, overreacher hero, conflict between Christianity and secular knowledge, Icarus imagery, damnation and salvation. Remember, we have already see the questions in the this one, so you can remember damnation and salvation based on the German Faust legend. This work, Dr. Faustus, is by Marlowe. Geo of Malta is also very important, and you will find the question on Machiavellian villain Barabbas. Okay, so this is already a P by Q. Geo of Malta, tragedy, the genre, religious hypocrisy, political corruption, and here the character Barabbas often compared with Shakespeare's Shylock. Edward II is also a play by Christopher Marlowe. It is a history play, political tragedy based on power struggle, homosexual subtext, that means relationship with Gaveston, and one of the earliest English history tragedies written by Christopher Marlowe. Okay. The Massacre at Paris, this is also one of the play. It is a historical tragedy. Historical tragedy, you must know it. Here you will find the theme of Saint Bartholomew's Day massacre, religious violence, and Catholic Protestant conflict in this work. Apart from this, in chronology questions that you will find the work by Christopher Marlowe is Hero and Leander. Okay, it was posthumously published in 1598, so must remember, based on Greek myth, and it is a mythological narrative poem. This work is a mythological narrative poem, okay? And you must remember this work later completed by George Chapman, so it is very, very important, okay? Now I'm trying to speak Hindi, um, but since I'm not in practice, it will take time, but students maybe they are demanding. Concept that is associated with erotic narrative and Ovidian influence, which work its hero and Leander by Marlowe. Passionate Shepherd is also already appear in the exam. Passionate Shepherd to his love 1590. The genre is pastoral lyric, and famous line you can remember here: "Come live with me and be my love." Okay. Concept pastoral tradition, carpe diem theme, and Sir Walter Raleigh wrote a reply to this play, that is the nymph's reply to the shepherd. The nymph's reply to the shepherd. Okay. Apart from all these major works and poetry, he has translated few works, that is Amyrus, remember, translation of Ovid's Elegies, and Lucas, Lucas Paracelia, that means a partial translation, epic about this work is an epic about the civil war, Roman civil war. Okay, I hope you are getting the point. Next option was like Perseus, so it was a Greek hero, slayer of Medusa, son of Zeus, associated with heroic quest and divine protection. So it is not associated and linked with Dr. Faustus, so we can easily eliminate this. Theseus was also a Greek hero and slayer of the Minotaur, associated with Athens. So you can also eliminate Achilles, Greek warrior of Trojan War. Okay, Achilles, hero of Homer's Iliad and nearly invincible except heel. So this work is also option is also you can easily eliminate. So do remember about everything. Now let's see next question. It is question number 87. Now, who makes the following speech in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? This work in the 5-year question paper, most repeated writer. If you don't find this writer now, you will definitely going to find Waiting for Godot. Everything one liner question, they will give you the line, they will give you the memory based questions about the character, like minor character, also the boy who became the messenger of the god. So everything, it's a French title, so do not forget to prepare about this work too. See the line, the line is a saying, astride of a grave and a difficult birth, down in the hole lingeringly the grave digger puts on the forceps. So you have to tell, you have to find out that which of these characters in the work Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett utters a speech. Estragon, Lucky, Vladimir, Oil, and Pozo. There is also the question that who among these characters is known as a D, Didi. So it's Vladimir, Estragon, Lucky, Pozo, the boy, and the one that never comes, they never appear in the play for them, for that person. All the characters keep waiting throughout the play is Godo, and because of that, this play become meaningless for the critic and all the readers. Correct answer is it's option 4, Pozo. Okay. Pozo, the quoted speech is delivered by Pozo, remember, in Act Second of Waiting for Godot. It was first published in French as An Attendant Godot in 1952, and English version was in 1953 to 1954. This is the year. So speech reflects Beckett's existential vision of human life. We know that existentialism theme based the work is then you will find the meaningless scene, meaningless character, meaningless everything dialogue. And that's why the famous line here continues. They give birth a stride of a grave, the light fades in an instant, and then it's night once more. This line expresses a life as a brief flash between birth and death, the inevitability of death, and the absurdity and futility central to the theater of the absurd. Now, do quickly comment who coined the term theater of the absurd. Later, this term you can say popularized by Samuel Beckett because his most of the works based on this, but you have to find out. So, why Pozo? Pozo in Act First, Pozo is arrogant and tyrannical, and in Act Second, he returns blind and helpless. So, who is the slave of Pozo? You must know the answer. So, his grave birth speech expresses Beckett's bleak metaphysical outlook human life. He is suspended between birth and death with no ultimate meaning. That means all the character here trying to show that the life is meaningless and there is no need and there is no hope for anything. That's why whatever they are doing, they are happy with that and they are just keep waiting for somebody who never appears in the play eventually. Okay, this is what we have a study and this play. Three things you must remember about this: absurd, meaningless, and existentialism or existentialist. Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus. This directly you can say that aligns with absurdist philosophy influenced by Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus work 1952, and Jean-Paul Sartre, Existentialism. Okay. Samuel Beckett, you remember, moment he belongs to theatre of the absurd, modernism and postmodernism. The country he belongs to Ireland. He is an Irish writer and Nobel Prize he got in 1969 in literature. So work Waiting for Godot 1952, English 1954, Endgame 1957, Craps Last Day 58, Happy Days 61, Murphy 1938, Mole 1951, Malin Dies 1951, and The Unnameable 1953. There was a question in December 2025 too that the question was you have to eliminate one of the work which is not the part of his three trilogies, and it was Murphy, Molo, and The Unnameable, and these were the in options. So you must remember. Okay, concept that he is associated theater of the absurd, that the term which is popularized by Martin Aisley 1961, and existential despair he is trying to basically show through the character in his work. Okay, meaningless of time, circular structure, silence and pauses, and minimalism in drama. So here in Pozo's speech in act you can say becomes darker because he is now blind, symbolizing existential blindness and human helplessness. This is going to be the very good for your revision. So just when the this class will be over by solving all the questions, I will share this PDF on Telegram channel. Actually, I'm extremely busy these days and Ramzan is also going to start. So I hope you do can understand. The girls have a lot of work to do. When you just associated with the professionalism, na, so there are like you have to manage your house and profession all together. So I hope you do understand this much I expect. The one who are like who is associated with the channel from the very beginning, they will definitely. There are very few and honest student that what do we call loyal. So I really like when they appreciate and wait patiently. I will share this PDF. Okay, there are a lot of things you can revise last moment or you can revise every time. So Estragon, remember, also called Gogo, everybody. Do remember one of the two trams here. Two trams, that means Vladimir and Estragon. More physical, concerned with boots, hunger and sleep. So which character is associated with and or concerned with क्या बोलते हैं इसको हिंदी में like physical appearance, the character is most English ही निकलता है. I don't know. I need practice. जो character associated है, we have Estragon, who is more concerned about the physical appearance. So he care about boots, he care about hunger, he care about sleep. So it is Estragon, which is also known as Gogo. Sorry, I will try to speak. It represents the body and immediate suffering. He does not deliver philosophical speeches like this one, which is given in the options. Lucky delivers a famous long monologue in Act First, often called the Lucky speech. Remember, this famous line is also known as Lucky's speech, so you cannot miss. In the beginning, the given existence as uttered forth, and that speech is chaotic, parodying philosophical and theological discourse. So Lucky's speech appears in Act First. Okay, Vladimir, also called Didi. This is the PYQ and also the Gogo one. More intellectual than Estragon. Like he keeps thinking not the way Estragon thinks. Mm, इन हिंदी एस्ट्रागोन के जैसे नहीं सोचता है बट he is more intellectual. He keeps thinking something else. Okay, so you remember he concerned with memory, salvation, biblical references, and that's why he represents the mind or consciousness. Okay, now let's see the next question about one specific work. I hope you have done the revision. The question is here, which of the following are the major themes in William Congre's The Way of the World? I found this question in one cycle, then in another I find missing, and then in the next one I find it again. So here, jealousy and revenge, love and intrigue and death, and love and loyalty. You have to find out the major themes. आपको major themes find out करना है विलियम कांग्रेस के work में, which is known as the way of the world. The way of the world में you have to find out. You must be laughing, na? How I am speaking Hindi. Hindi is good. I am very good speaking Hindi, but it's like 1 year since I started this channel, and you can imagine in practice and also in my spoken class too. There are students I have to speak continuously like 1 2 hours English, so that's why maybe like I'm more able to connect in English professionally. Correct answer of this question is love and intrigue. Okay, remember. So William Congress, the work The Way of the World 1700 is a classic example of restoration comedy of manners. Comedy of manners, it was related with Harold Pinter, remember, and it is comedy of manners that is related with William Congreve. The central plot revolves around this work is there you will find the romantic relationship between Mirabelle and the Millamant. You must remember these are the very important and frequently repeated characters for the exam. Intriguing involving inheritance and marriage settlements and social manipulation and witty deception. Also, there will you will find a strategic plotting to secure fortune and marriage approval. It's already half an hour. Let's see how many questions we are going to do. So this play is not tragic, it does not focus on death or revenge. Instead, it represents sophisticated urban love, social maneuvering, and witty intrigue. Okay, so one of the most famous scene in this work you find proviso scene. Remember, proviso scene in Act 4. And what happens in the scene? Mirabel and Millamant negotiate the terms of marriage. So proviso scene in William Congress, The Way of the World, in Act 4 happens where Mirabel, both the characters, both the important characters negotiate, or they talked about, you can say, about the negotiation of the marriage, showing love mixed with intelligence and independence. William Congreve, we know he was associated with Restoration period, okay, belonged to England, and genre he is majorly associated with comedy of manners. So major works: The Old Bachelor 1693, Double Dealer 1693, Love for Love 95, The Morning Bride 97, and The Way of the World 1700. Okay, the concept that he is associated with the writer, restoration comedy of manners, satire of upper class society, wit and repartee, marriage as economic contract, social hypocrisy. By mentioning these, na, it means whenever any of these concept or term appear in the exam, that you can quickly go to the option and find out if the writer is who is associated with are given or not. Okay, so it will be easier that you are definitely near to the right answer. And by going deeper, we can analyze that what does it mean and in which work. NTA asked that in which work, why they have used this concept. What does it signify? इसका क्या मतलब है, कौन से वर्क में यूज हुआ है, एंड आपको कैसे इसका आंसर फाइंड आउट करना है, लाइक ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ योर ओन अंडरस्टैंडिंग यू हैव टू analyze, used your analyzation. Okay, now so the restoration comedy tradition was earlier shaped by William Wycherley, remember the work The Country Wife 1675, George Etheridge The Man of Mode 1676. Okay, here are the other options given: jealousy and revenge. We can find in the restoration majorly. Shakespearean drama, intelligent death, love and loyalty. These are not the part of this work. Next question we have. See, in the same question paper, like in the same one question, two questions we have find. What game do the characters play in Act Second of Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party? Like I analyzed 5-year question. Na? I have uploaded the video. In all the year, I find this work. Similarly, Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Like these two works. Oh my God, I can't even describe. So Harold Pinter, like if you specific writer, if you will study deeper, no, you will definitely going to score well. So a game of chess, a game of cards, blind man's buff, and musical chairs. Similarly, in The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope, 1712, it was published. Which game Belinda plays? That is also ombre. Ombre, that is also known as, it is a type of card game also. So here you have to tell, यहाँ पर भी आपको यही बताना है कि हैरल्ड पिंटर के प्ले द बर्थडे पार्टी में कैरेक्टर्स जो हैं कौन सा गेम खेलते हैं. आई स्पोक वेल. So you have to find out. Okay, so it is blind man's buff. Blind man's buff. This game is played by the characters, not a specific one character he has talked, but it is plural characters. So you must remember. In Act 2, The Birthday Party 1958, the characters play Blind Man's Buff, a children's game. This is a children's game. Okay, so however, you must remember, Pinter's dramatic context, the game becomes a symbol of psychological torture, representation of loss of control, and a metaphor for blindness, confusion, and power manipulation. So the characters here not just play, but by playing these games, यानी उनके द्वारा ये गेम खेलने का जो मोटिव है, this is what shows, signifies. Okay, remember. During the game, what happens is Stanley is blindfolded, the character Stanley. The atmosphere turns violent and chaotic. Okay, now the playful activity transforms into menace and humiliation. So you must remember what happens when they play the game, what situation it turns. Now, this scene here marks a turning point in the play and intensifies what critical call comedy of a menace. that is related with Harold Pinter. Okay. So about Harold Pinter, he was a British writer, major 20th British writer. Remember, Birthday Party 1958, Caretaker 1960, The Homecoming, Dumbwaiter. We have seen the works in the previous questions that we have solved in this video itself. The term first used by Comedy of Men and Irving Hoddle. This was also I have mentioned, so you must remember. Now let's see the next question. The Duchess of Malfi is based on John Webster, Victorian Age. The Duchess of Malfi is based on a French romance, an Italian novella, a German fable, or Scottish chronicle. Okay. So correct answer is option 2. It's an Italian novella. Okay. Remember, Italian novella. John Webster's The Play, the character of this play, everyone is very important. Okay. Whether the brothers or the villain hired by Duchess of Brothers. So you must remember even the one who stays in the palace. So John Webster's The Duchess of Malfi, it was first performed in 1613 to 14 and published in 23. And 23 is the date 1623 that in the same year Shakespeare's first folio was published. And the second was just 3 will be here and 2 will be here, so 32. And third one you can divide with multiply with 2, it was a 64, and the last one was a fourth folio 84 or 86. Here I got confused. Okay, so remember, now, it is based on Italian novella. Remember, here the main source of this work is Matteo Bandiolo's novella 1554. So, Italian novella, which work? It is Matteo Bandiolo's novella. Later translated into French by Francis de Belforest in Histories Tragiques in 1565. So, here John Webster drew from an Italian Renaissance prose tale involving the historical Duchess Giovanna di Aragon of Amalfi. So Amalfi is the place which is also called here Malfi. Okay, remember. John Webster belongs to the Jacobean age, contemporary of Shakespeare. I was saying Victorian age, sorry. Contemporary of Shakespeare, belongs to the revenge tragedy genre. Major works, The White Devil. This work appears in the matching questions. The White Devil. Do practice and remember the work. There are lot of works you have already seen. काफी सारे works इसमें mention किए गए हैं और आप सबने देख भी लिया है. The Duchess of Malfi. Don't make fun of my Hindi, okay? Professionally, I will do practice. मैं कर लूंगी practice बोलने की if you want, because why I was not doing it, because no, with this channel many of the South Indian students have been associated. So that's why even many of them were saying that, ma'am, please started teaching in Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. I don't know how to speak those language. English is good. English is fine. Hindi I can, but Urdu too I can, little bit, but majorly English. The Duchess of Malfi, remember the year, the Devil's Law case. Although in one major work you have to go deeper, and if the writer is popular, their minor work is important for the matching questions, even the minor writer also. So Jacobean revenge tragedy influenced by Senecan tragedy, okay, related to Thomas, it's the Spanish tragedy which is very popular, okay. And revenge tragedy where the theme includes corruption, revenge, violence, and moral decay. Remember Hamlet's condition, Dr. Foster's condition. Dark psychological drama focuses on madness, tyranny, and female autonomy. That here you will find in Duchess, and madness here you will find in the character Ferdinand. Okay. Decadence and moral corruption. There is also one of the questions that NTA asked, that name the villain that was hired by Duchess' brother. Jacobean drama is darker than Elizabethan drama. Okay. It is also called bloodshed, I guess. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Reflects pessimism of the reign of James I. French romance was not correct. Duchess of Malfi here, remember, I have included this, the character and there. Then after this, we will wrap and bring the few questions tomorrow. I'm going slow because this time now all of you are busy and you don't watch, and this is the only medium that I can bring the classes. And when you don't watch, you don't comment, I just feel hopeless, and that's why I ignore. This is actually what I, otherwise I'll be active if you will watch. Just before one month of the exams, the students get active. So also we can say they do not have rights to complain. It might be possible if they have prepared very well. So they just need a revision, all the works, writers, concept terms. So that's why they thought. And specifically the one who in the middle of their preparation or the beginners, they cannot prepare just before one month. So here the character, the Duchess we have, remember, who is a young widow of the Duke of Malfi, which is also a Malfi, you must remember, secretly marries her steward Antonio against her brother's wishes and represents female autonomy, dignity, and moral strength, becomes the victim of patriarchal tyranny, and patriarchal tyranny are both brothers. Okay, remember. Then we have the importance of her character is that she's the one of the strongest tragic heroines in Jacobean drama, the Duchess. She faces death with courage and composure, and she's also become the symbol of resistance against corruption and oppression. Okay, then here Antonio Bologna, who becomes a secret husband of Duchess, steward of the Duchess household, marries the Duchess secretly, honest, virtuous, and loyal to Duchess. He represents integrity and domestic virtue. He rises in status, anger, and Duchess brothers. Okay, ultimately murdered due to political conspiracy. Then we have Ferdinand. Ferdinand is a Duke of Calaveria, the Duchess' twin brother, obsessed with controlling his sister and displays violent jealousy and psychological instability. So remember the character and the line that is mentioned here. So what does he signify? He signifies the embodies tyranny and madness, suffers from lycanthropia, that means believe he is a wolf, and symbol of corrupted aristocratic power. Then we have the cardinal. Cardinal and the Ferdinand both are the twin brothers of the Duchess. Okay. The cardinal, who is Duchess' elder brother, who is cold, calculating, and politically manipulative, involved in an illicit relationship with Julia. He represents religious hypocrisy and moral corruption. Okay. Unlike Ferdinand, he is calm but equally cruel. Like both the brothers are very cruel towards his sister. His church positions highlights corruption with religious authority, and then we have Bosola. Bosola is the very popular villain hired by these twin brothers to keep an eye and kill Duchess. Malcontent, malcontent spy employed by Ferdinand, assigned to watch the Duchess and later becomes executioner, the one who kills. Okay. Most psychologically, he represents complex character, and the very famous character for the exam, NT asked, represents the malcontent figure of Jacobean drama, ultimately feels guilt and seeks revenge against the brothers. Okay. Then we have Julia, remember, wife of Castruccio, mistress of the cardinal. Cariola, we have the character Duchess waiting woman and knows about the secret marriage with Antonio. Loyal servant. Delio we have now. Delio, a friend of Antonio and act as observer and commentator. So these are the characters, okay? So 90 questions we have finished. By explaining one all the questions concept and that is given in the options, it took time. So that's why we are able to solve 5 to 6 or 7 questions. Okay. See the question number 91. I keep reminding you throughout the videos and classes that you must prepare about few specific topics that are going to appear in the exam. Okay, like we have Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party, The Way of the World by William Congreve, and some of more important works like you must prepare and must practice MLA Handbook ninth and 8th edition about it, linguistic part of Saussures, Noam Chomsky, and whoever who are associated with. Okay, semiotics, semantics, morphology, syntax. So all these you must get familiar with and do memorize the concept meaning that is associated with the specific topic. Literary theory is also important. So the question is here, which two of the following strictly follow the parameters of documentation? Now you have to find out that given in the given options, two options is going to be the correct. Follow. Which two of the following strictly follow the parameters of documentation prescribed by the 8th edition of the MLA handbook? So MLA handbook is very important. The 8th edition and ninth edition. Okay, so you must prepare to get the 2 to 4 marks. You can score. You can secure these marks by preparing about the MLA handbook. So options you can here understand two of the following strictly follow the parameters that is actually given as per the MLA 8th edition handbook. So correct answer is option A and D. Here option A and sorry, option A and D, that is option 3. Okay, A and D. So you must remember the fourth and the first one. Everything is mentioned here why it is authored, that here it is specified properly, title is italicized, publisher shortened correctly, year is given, and there is no unnecessary place for publication. So that's why it follows the proper parameter of MLA handbook 8th. Okay, so that's why. And option B was wrong. This is not as per the parameter, not as per the that is actually given in 8th edition. Option D is also correct. It is also following the proper parameter of what it is actually MLA handbook 8th edition describes. Okay. So once the class will over, I will share this PDF. Took so much time by adding all the concept clarity here. So I will share the PDF and you can revise by yourself. Once you will solve, you will memorize, you will revise, and then you must get a lot of good practice. Next question we have C. Question, it is from the research methodology. So question is, a research hypothesis is options, a proposition which is always true, a provisional explanation of anything, a theory which will be disproved by evidence, and a statement which is assumed to be true for the sake of argument. See the options here. A research hypothesis, what are these? So you have to find out the two correct statement. Yesterday I spoke in Hindi, nobody commented that how it was. Okay, jokes apart, two options you have to find the correct one. Okay, so options you have to find out. The correct answer is option third, B and D only. So as per the research hypothesis is a provisional explanation of anything, and it is a statement which is assumed to be true for the sake of the argument. Okay. What is that? In research, a hypothesis is not something always true. It might be false and true. Remember, fallacy. Okay, it is a testable statement that may be supported or rejected after investigations. If it were always true, research would be unnecessary. So that's why it was incorrect. Then we have provisional explanation of anything. This was the correct statement. That means where a research hypothesis is a tentative, that means it is provisional. Explanation is phenomena, and that's why you can say proposed, it is proposed before empirical testing. So research hypothesis is also one of the important topic you must practice to secure your 2 to 4 marks. Then next option was option C, a theory which will be disapproved by evidence. This was also incorrect. Why? Because a hypothesis is testable and falsifiable, meaning it can be disapproved. Okay, but it is not something that will necessarily be disapproved until unless you go deeper and analyze the evidence you test, then only you can disapprove, without you cannot. So this is what it mean here. Option D was correct. Why? Because a hypothesis is assumed temporarily so that it can be tested logically and empirically. While having a research, we know that what are the important materials, what are the important evidence, how deeper we have to go to analyze and to find out the truth behind of what specific topic. So everything is related with that. You must prepare. So in research methodology, we formulate hypothesis, assume it for testing, we collect data and accept or reject as per the evidence. Okay. Next question we have, which two of the following aspects are to be scrupulously followed to avoid the trap of plagiarism? This is also from the research methodology. So that's why I'm telling you, you can secure your 2 to 4 marks. Subjectivity, acknowledgement, citation और interpretations. You have to find two. आपको दो options ढूंढने हैं. Aspects which is scrupulously followed to avoid plagiarism को avoid करने के लिए. Among these options, in options में से what you need to find. Okay. Options are A, B, A, C, C, D and B, C. So correct answer is B and C only. That means acknowledgement and citations. We must give acknowledgement of what actually we have taken, the reference, the work. Not only copy paste is going to happen here. That will be what we call plagiarism. That means you have copied. आपने किसी का वर्क चुराया है, आप उसको कॉपी पेस्ट कर रहे हैं as it is, and you are not giving any credit to those specific person. So subjectivity is incorrect. B and C was right. Subjectivity refers to personal opinion, individual bias, or personal interpretation. What an individual, that means how I am going to analyze. It is going to be based on my opinion itself. That is what individual bias or personal interpretation. While originality of thought is important in research writing, subjectivity does not directly prevent plagiarism. So this statement is incorrect. You must remember acknowledgement was correct. Okay, acknowledgement means giving proper credit to the original author when using his ideas, his words, his data or theories. आप किसी के भी वर्क को कॉपीज कर रहे हैं, आप you are not going to give credit and you are using that, so that will be called plagiarism. You have copied. But if you are crediting the original author by what you have taken from his work, the reference, whether it's a small amount, the small theories or his ideas, what's anything which you are going to copy, you must acknowledge. आपको credit देना पड़ेगा. Then only you can save yourself from any plagiarism. Then failing to acknowledge source amounts to intellectual theft. Proper acknowledgement is a fundamental academic practice to avoid plagiarism. So citation was also correct. So citation is the formal referencing of sources using a recognized style, that is we called MLA, APA and Chicago, etc. Okay. By following the pattern parameter of these styles, we cite the work, the author, the reference that we have taken. Citation, by doing citation, it shows transparency and it allows verification. That's why it is important. Remember. Then last one, we have interpretation. Interpretation was incorrect. Why? Because interpretation means explaining or analyzing a text in your own way. आप किसी के टेक्स्ट को अपने वे में इंटरप्रेट कर रहे हैं, एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं, एनालाइज कर रहे हैं. दैट मीन्स यू still you are using his ideas, just you are speaking their thoughts, so that will be also incorrect. While interpretation may reduce direct copying, that means उसमें it's like ऐसा हो सकता है, you are putting some of your inputs, but still the main ideas is related to that person, though that will be not indirect but direct, but indirectly you are copying, you are imitating, you are taking, you are plagiarizing. Okay, so it does not automatically prevent plagiarism unless the original source is properly cited. Now we got the point. So types of plagiarism, let me explain a little bit. Plagiarism means something, means presenting someone else's words, ideas, structure, argument or data as your own without proper acknowledgement and citation. आप किसी के भी वर्क को, ऑथर को, आइडिया को विदाउट गिविंग एनी एक्नॉलेजमेंट क्रेडिट यूज कर रहे हैं, so that will be what we call plagiarism. Okay, you have to give credit, you have to admit, you have to acknowledge, that means you are using somebody else's work, the idea that they have given, that's not originally given by us, वो idea originally हमारा नहीं है. So direct plagiarism, the first one, which is also known as verbatim plagiarism, here it means copying word for word from a sources, no quotation marks and no citations. You can copying a paragraph from a critic's essay and presenting it as your own writing. So that is what we call direct plagiarism, remember. And this is the most serious and obvious form, remember, direct plagiarism, which is also known as, and it what it means and how it can be, you can remember. Self plagiarism, that means here you are reusing your own previously published or submitted work without disclosure, submitting the same assignment in two courses and publishing the same article in two journals without mentioning earlier publication. I will give you one fine example of this. In university level or MA, BA, the students who are pursuing while obviously having their job part time or full time, so they purchase assignments and as it is they copied and submit to the university. Still there is a correct clear instruction, वहां पे क्लियर इंस्ट्रक्शन भी होता है क्वेश्चन पेपर में कि आप कहीं से कुछ कॉपी पेस्ट नहीं करेंगे, दैट विल बी रीजन फॉर योर डिडक्शन इन मार्क्स. बट स्टिल ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ द टाइम यू कैन से, और ड्यू टू because they do not have time, or that is most important, due to lack of time they do this. And lack of time, it means उनको पढ़ने का टाइम नहीं मिलता है, so they purchase, they buy and they copy as it is and they submit to the university assignment. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So that is what we call self plagiarism, you can say. Even though it is your own work, it is considered academic misconduct. Mosaic plagiarism, which is also called patch writing, mixing copied phrases with your own words, slightly changing sentence structure but keeping the original wording and ideas. अब यहाँ पर, now here you are in the original work, there are some inputs you are using, giving. Still the original idea, what it matters in the copy, the you are using the original ideas. Idea what it matters in plagiarism. Like in movies में भी ऐसा होता है कि किसी की movies को same song को, lyrics को as it is copy कर लिया जाता है, then the person file a suit for those who have done such work. So that is what we can call patch writing. Okay, still you are using the ideas and there is still no proper citation acknowledgement you are giving. Okay, this is common among students who edit sentences instead of fully paraphrasing. Now another one, we have paraphrasing plagiarism. So here you rewrite someone's ideas in different words. आप यहाँ पर again you are using someone else idea, किसी के idea को use कर रहे हैं, meaning वही है, idea words बदल गए हैं. Like you are using the same word meaning but still you are using the same idea. So that's what it called paraphrasing, but not giving citations here too. So that is also in. Now another one, we have accidental plagiarism. That's why I said everyone, you must join the class. In one question you are going to clear a lot of concept. Given all the options I will try to clear, and if the concept is important we can go through, we can go deeper. Okay, so share to all the students. And I will admit this is my mistake that I'm not regular and the Ramzan is also starting. after 2 days. So let's see how I'm going to manage everything. I hope you do understand. But you keep preparing yourself, okay? I'm not caring about that how my channel is going. It will just go down, the views, the subscribers. But this video, when I just think and receive the message, I don't think anything, but just record the classes and brought for you. So that's what it keep always it has in my mind. There is nothing else that I have to something like that. Okay. Now, what is accidental plagiarism? Here you are forgetting to cite. That means there is no citation. You have forgot. Incorrect reference. That means here accidental plagiarism. What it means? You have used the idea. यहाँ पर आपने idea use किया है किसी का, but आपने जो भी यहाँ पर citation दिया है, reference दिया है author को, original author को, you have given in the wrong way. That is what it mistook. So missing quotation marks, unintentional copying due to poor note taking. So that will be the problematic here. That is going to be problematic. Okay, so it is still considered plagiarism even if it is accidental. Now, source-based plagiarism, citing incorrect sources, citing a source you have not actually read and fabricating references. So this is unethical, source-based. Okay, remember. Now, what are the difference between paraphrasing and plagiarism? I will share this PDF. You can read. Example is also given here. Let me tell you a little bit. This is very important. You must remember paraphrasing. You write the idea completely in your own words. You change structure and vocabulary, you maintain original meaning, and you give proper citation. Example you can take here. T.S. Eliot argues that poetry is not a turning loose of emotion but an escape from emotion. Now here correct paraphrases क्या हो जाएगा? T.S. Eliot maintains that poetry does not simply express raw feelings but transforms them through artistic discipline. Now here they have used the proper paraphrases by giving Eliot credit and the year. Also, proper punctuation. So this is acceptable. Why? Because the structure is changed. Okay. Wording is changed and citation is given. So this is the correct paraphrasing. Example is given here. You can remember. And plagiarism, is this an incorrect practice? Here you just change only few words, keeping same structure, and there is no citation. Remember here, example, poetry is not the release of emotion but an escape from emotion. This is the same what T.S. Eliot has said. So structure and idea are copied, no citation and different table. Remember, this is what he has said. Paraphrasing, you have own wording, own structure, citation given, ethically correct, and plagiarism, copied wording or structure, no citation, and academic misconduct. So remember, according to UGC net, plagiarism is considered intellectual dishonesty, and that's why you are having the questions. Academic misconduct, violation of research ethics. So in India, you must know UGC has anti-plagiarism regulations in 2018 for MPhil PhD research publications for the people who research, who do a lot of hard work, but eventually their work, their hard work stolen by somebody, their idea is copied by somebody, and that's why they had to suffer. Now we got all the point about plagiarism and paraphrasing. I have tried to explain you a little bit in Hindi also. I hope you don't mind, but English I will expect that you must understand. Now let's see the next question. See, in explaining one question, it is taking too much time because we have to clear all the concept. Which two texts among the following are linked to literary feminism? A small place, the yellow wallpaper, Emma, a room of one's own. Now here you have to find out that among these options, sorry, among all these four options, two text you have to find out. आपको यहाँ पे दो text find out करने हैं जो आपका लिटरेरी फेमिनिज्म से लिंक करता है. लाइक इन दिस वर्क दे हैव टॉक्ड or discussed about what is literary feminism is actually. A small place, the yellow wallpaper, Emma, a room of one's own. So it is clearly, you can say B and D. A Room of One's On by Virginia Woolf and The Yellow Wallpaper. It is by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So B and D is the correct answer. B and D are the correct options. The one which is linked with literary feminism. Okay. So it is published in 1892, and this is the work that is the foundation feminist short story. It critiques patriarchal medical practices. Okay. The rest cure imposed on women, suppression of female creativity, and domestic confinement. So all these themes is highlighted in the work The Yellow Wallpaper, which is by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Okay, remember. Here, the narrator psychologically breakdown symbolizes women's oppression in a male dominated society. In the ancient history, also, and later on, not only we are talking about India, but all the women were suppressed. All the women were suffering being in a male dominated society. We have seen how many female writers they had to change their name to publish their book because they have been forced to do so. Okay, उनको what I say in Hindi, they were like even if they were living with their father after marriage with their husband, they had dependency on them. They have no their identity. So that's what it means, women's oppression in a male dominant society. जहां पर सिर्फ मेल ही रूल कर सकते हैं, वुमेन का कोई पावर नहीं होता है, नॉट इवन इन देयर होम, उनके घर में भी नहीं. दे हैड टू डिपेंड ऑन देयर फादर, देयर ब्रदर, देयर हस्बैंड. ओके. A room of one's own, we have studied about this work. Sorry, what's I'm doing? Virginia Woolf, 1929. It's an essay. Remember, this is a major feminist critical essay. Here, Woolf argues that a woman needs money and a room of her own to write the fiction. यहाँ पर वर्जीनिया वुल्फ ने वुमेन डिपेंडेंसी इंडिपेंडेंसी की बात की है फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी को लेकर, सो दैट दे कैन फ्रीली राइट. They do not need to ask money to their father or the husband. Okay. So here patriarchal history excluded women from literary production. Economic independence is essential for artistic freedom. If you have money, you can write anything, like choices of your own. You don't have to think that you have wasted money in writing something else, and now if you're going to try writing something else, you have to again wait or ask for money to somebody else. A Small Place, it is by Jamaica Kincaid. A Small Place, remember, it is a post-colonial critic, anti-imperialist discourse, and cultural and political commentary, so we can eliminate. Emma, the work is by Jane Austen, remember. Jane Austen, very popular romantic age novelist. Austen's novel contain proto-feminist elements and explore women's social position. Emma is generally categorized under Regency fiction, social comedy, and realist novel. It is not a direct feminist theoretical text like Woolf's work, so that's why Emma can be eliminated from this option. Literary feminism focuses on representation of women in literature, gender inequality, patriarchal structures, and women's writing and authorship. यानी कि आई एम सॉरी, लिटरेरी फेमिनिज्म जो स्पेसिफिकली वी स्टडी द वर्क रिलेटेड टू वुमेन इन लिटरेचर. लिटरेचर में हम स्पेसिफिकली जब वुमेन राइटर्स के बारे में पढ़ते हैं, एंड देर इज अ डिफरेंस एंड देर इज अ लाइक यू कैन से you are comparing both male and female writers. So what, why we are comparing, why the situation is arises, यहाँ पे situation आई ही क्यों है कि both are the writers, both are writing, हमें उन्हें compare करने की need है, नहीं करना चाहिए, राइट. दैट्स व्हाट इट मीन. वहां पे वुमेन लिटरेचर उनका वर्क अच्छा है नहीं है, फीमेल पर्सपेक्टिव से लिखा गया है, सो दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी अ गुड वर्क. इट वाज द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ द मेल राइटर्स. जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी, मेल राइटर्स आर देयर, फीमेल राइटर्स आर देयर, सो जो मेल राइटर्स के वर्क है उनको ज्यादा आप उनको इम्पोर्टेंस देंगे इन कंपेयर टू द फीमेल वन, क्योंकि वो एक फीमेल पर्सपेक्टिव. दैट्स व्हाई दिस इज व्हाट एलन शोल्टर हैज discussed in his essay, the work. Remember? एलन शोल्टर्स. एंड पेट्रार्कल स्ट्रक्चर, जो भी वर्क है, एक और अगर इफ देयर इज अ वुमेन राइटर, फीमेल राइटर, शी इज ट्राइंग टू राइट समथिंग, she has to keep in mind that what the male writer will think, how they will, whether they will accept the work or not. So they have to structure. Okay, so women's writing and authorship is also one of the ideas. Now, key figures you must remember related with Simon de Beauvoir, Ellen Shorter, gynocriticism concept they gave, and Kate Pilot, sexual politics. Second sex, 1949, gynocriticism is a concept discussed, appeared in the essay or by Ellen Sholter, and sexual politics, 1970. Okay, so it's already 25 minutes. Now, next question we have 95 questions. Who among the following feminist theories? This is the last, then we will do the remaining questions in the next class. Who among the following feminist theorists posited a separate realm of female experience captured in a style of writing different from men's? Ellen Sholter, Lucy Irigaray, Kate Millett, Simone de Beauvoir, or Helen Zeus? Who among the following feminists? These are all the writers related with feminist theorist. Okay, so you have to find out कि इनमें से किसको एक separate रियाल में फीमेल राइटर के तौर पे देखा गया है, the one who has experienced और capture men के writing को. Okay, in a style of writing different, men की writing से different पाया गया है. So you have to find out that. You must be finding my Hindi very different. Actually, this is my language. How do I speak? Not too tadak, but accept this now. This is how student and the teacher connected when they share online or offline, but there must be the gap and difference. So here are the options. You have to find out which of these options are correct. So option 4, B and E, that means Lucy Irigaray, and D, Simone de E. E is Helen. Now, the idea of separate female realm of experience expressed through a distinct style of writing belongs to French feminism. Remember, French feminism and French female writers are extremely important for the exam, especially the concept of écriture féminine. Écriture féminine stands for female writing, women's writing. Okay. Major works by Lucy Irigaray, you remember Speculum of the Other Woman, sorry, 1974, and This Sex Which Is Not One, 1977. Associated concept with Lucy Irigaray, we have Sexual Difference, critique of phallocentrism or female language beyond patriarchal logic. So here Irigaray argues that Western discourse is phallocentric, that means a male-centered. Phallocentric means a male-centered. She proposes that a woman must create a new mode of expression. It means by rejecting the idea of man, आपको मेल पर्सपेक्टिव को कॉपी नहीं करना है, बट आपको अपना एक मोड ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन लेकर आना है, योर ऑन थिंकिंग, व्हाट्स योर आइडियाज, हाउ यू आर थिंकिंग टू ब्रिंग द न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट इंस्टेड ऑफ कॉपिंग द मेल वन. ओके, सो दैट्स शी हैज टॉक्ड अबाउट कि वुमेन को क्रिएट करना है न्यू मोड ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन दैट रिफ्लेक्ट्स फीमेल बॉडीली एक्सपीरियंस एंड मल्टीप्लिसिटी. She clearly supports the idea of distinct female discourse. Remember, now Helen Zeus, we have The Laugh of the Medusa is the very important work, okay, and Shorty's 1975 with Catherine Clement. Associated concept, we all know a creature feminine, how important it is, and this writer Helen Zeus is very important. Do not forget to prepare. Zeus explicitly calls for women to write through their bodies. She argues women's writing is fluid, non-linear, and subversive, so it resists rigid male logic and hierarchy. So she is the strongest representative of the idea that mentioned in the question. Okay, Alan Sholter, we know, or literature of their own in which gynocriticism, concept she has given towards a feminist poetics, which this was also it was written in response to the other work, or there is a male writer who write another work in response to this one. I have notes. Concept she is associated with gynocriticism, and she gave three phases of women's writing. The first one, feminine. This was the concept appear in December 2025 exam. Okay. So feminine 1840 to 80, then 1880 to 20 you have to feminist, and female 1920 onwards. Scholter studies women's writing as a literary tradition, but she does not argue for biologically distinct writing styles like French feminism, so we can eliminate. Okay, only the female writers they talked about a distinct writing style specifically related with the feminism. Kate Milet's Sexual Politics is the work very important, and concept patriarchy as a political institution and literary critique of male authors. She has criticized male authors like D.H. Lawrence and Henry Miller. Remember. So Milet focuses on exposing patriarchy in literature, not on separate female writing like we have in French feminism. Simone de Beauvoir, we have The Second Sex 1949, and the concept one is not born but rather becomes a woman and existential feminism. So Simone de Beauvoir argues and rejects biological determinism, so you can eliminate her easily. Okay. Let me see. You must remember if the question, anything question mentions separate female language writing through the body beyond phallocentrism. Phallocentrism, that means male centric, a creature feminine. You can think about all these writers related with the French feminism. Okay. So I hope now we will solve the next few questions in tomorrow's class. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you like my Hindi also. And let's meet in the next class. Take care of yourself, and आप सबको रमजान मुबारक. Thank you.